My name is Tanya Hemmings and I'm a clinical psychologist. I wish you a very warm welcome on this Women's Day. My particular topic that I want to talk to you about today is the Enneagram. And it's a very brief discussion and introduction and really just touching the surface. I won't be able to explain it in depth. However, I want to try and give you an idea why it's something to investigate and what value it's brought to my life. So the Enneagram comes from two words, Ennea and gram. Ennea is a Greek word meaning 9, and gram it means diagram or graph. So it's a diagram representing 9 different points. And this speaks about the 9 different personality types of people that there are in the world. It's quite a sacred system, so it's more than just a personality profiling system. And it's not something that somebody has sucked out of their thumb. You can actually, if you go and do a little bit of research on it, you'll find hundreds and thousands of articles on the Enneagram, because it's quite a complex and quite an intense system that goes through different layers. It goes back thousands of years to the time of the Sufis, Pythagoras, the desert fathers who would go into the desert and inquire of themselves, what is it that gets in the way of me and my relationship with a higher power? So the Enneagram does answer to a great extent the age-old question of who am I? As a psychologist, people will come to me with problems and life issues and situations that repeat themselves, and really just to try and understand their thinking patterns, their emotional patterns, and their behavioral responses. So that is something that I definitely help people with, and it's something that can take many years sometimes to uncover. However, the Enneagram is a system that anybody as a lay person can actually delve into and really look at this question, who am I? And by looking at those 9 different patterns, they will be able to see quite clearly what thinking patterns actually stand out, what emotional patterns stand out, and what behavioral responses in the world stand out to them as an individual. And also what I found very interesting about the Enneagram is when I looked at it, I could quite clearly see where my husband was on the Enneagram. I could see where my friends were, my family, my children. And it takes a little bit of time to actually really uncover oneself, because we kind of hide patterns from ourselves. We see when we have a problem in the world, we understand when we have a problem, an emotional problem that comes up, but often to kind of stop and ask ourselves, how is this so? Or why is it that this particular pattern repeats itself so often in my life? That takes a little bit more probing. So the Enneagram, because I said it's quite a complex system, it lays out those 9 patterns very, very clearly, and you should be able to find yourself. In fact, they say the one that you feel the most uncomfortable with on the Enneagram, so in other words, the one that brings up the most vulnerability for you, that may be a little clue for you to look further and see if that is your type on the Enneagram. Trained to be a teacher in 2008, and for me it's become the foundation of all my studies in psychology, my passion of understanding all these different patterns and how it is we behave in a certain way. There's a pastor called Father Noah, and he says there are 3 lies that we tell ourselves. I am what I do, I am what I have, and I am what other people say or think about me. So the Enneagram actually gives one a sense of freedom and liberation, because we're not in little boxes. We are not what other people say about us. So as I said, there are 9 different types on the Enneagram, and if you do an in-depth exploration, if you do a course on the Enneagram, it will be explained how these 9 different types are put together. So each of the 9 types has a mental thinking pattern, a habitual way of responding emotionally in the world, and a habitual pattern of responding from our gut or from an action-based approach in the world. And I think the most incredible thing about the Enneagram is that it explains why there are differences, why I am different to my husband, why I am different to my children. And even people who've grown up in the same family with the same set of parents, same set of economic circumstances, same geographical, cultural, historical situations will be different. So it's not about that age-old question of nature versus nurture. It's even about more than our temperament. It's about a pattern that each of us brings into the world. My teacher in the Enneagram has a wonderful saying. She says, "We are not a problem to be solved, we are a gift to be given." So the Enneagram even goes beyond our human psyche. It can help us with our spiritual patterns. As I said, even religious organizations, ministers, nuns, etc., use this system to understand what it is that gets in the way of our relationship with God. And each of those 9 different types has a spiritual blessing, the original pattern that we bring into the world, which is our gift to be given. So on this particular International Women's Day, I'd like to give you some of the gifts of the 9 different types, because I can't explain the 9 different types in detail to you in this short little video, but I can actually intrigue you with some of the gifts that these 9 types bring into the world. So listen carefully for the gifts and the blessings of each of the 9 different types and see how very different they are. Type 1, the perfectionist: integrity and wholeness, ethical action, responsibility, commitment. Type 2, the giver: natural nurturer, loving disposition, warm and generous-hearted, friendly and gracious. Type 3, the performer: the ability to bring forth hope, to sustain a goal or a vision, determination and purpose, efficiency. Type 4, the romantic: compassion, creative disposition, passion, idealism, and mercy. Type 5, the observer: vision and foresight, wisdom, confidentiality, dispassion, and clear-headed. Type number 6, the devil's advocate: faithfulness, loyalty and allegiance, dependable, devotion, and dedication. Type 7, the epicure: bliss and delight, inventive and resourceful, great love of life, adventurous. Type 8, the boss: justice-making, understanding of power, truth and honesty, defender and protector. And type 9, the mediator: harmony, unity, a universal way of being, acceptance and peace, deeply supportive, and synchronization. Wow. So each of those 9 different types, those 9 different patterns that we bring forth of our own pattern into the world, we are the way showers in those patterns. We can birth those gifts into the world. And so I want to leave you with that the Enneagram is an incredible system. It's a sacred psychology system that will enable you to understand yourself, understand others, understand your children, and understand your place in the world and how you can actually bring forth those gifts and blessings. And instead, stop repeating patterns that no longer serve us, because the world does need us. The world needs women who are committed, responsible, and powerful, and gracious, and natural nurturers, and peacemakers, and inventive, creative beings. The world needs all of those gifts to be brought forward into the world. So enjoy your Women's Day, and I hope I've inspired you to go and learn a little bit more about the Enneagram. All the best.